Hello, everyone. Very happy to be here today with a virtuoso violinist, a friend who lives in Vienna, winner of many prizes, and one of the top violinists of today, Yury Revich. And Yuri, thank you so much for doing this podcast. I'm so delighted to talk to you today. I haven't spoken to you in a long time, and I have to say that um, you know this is a great honor for me. And I listened to your new album. I wanted to talk to you about many things, but I wanted to talk to you specifically about, or especially about, your new album piece, and what motivated you to record this album. How is it doing? Where you recorded it? Who are the people involved in this album? I recognize some of the composers, people that I love and admired for a long time. But Yuri, tell me a little bit, for people that do not know who you are. Uh, Tell us a little bit about you, about your life. Where are you from? You were born in Moscow, right? I mean, what's your? You come from a long uh, line of great artists and virtuoso violinists. What's your story?
Right. Well, thanks for having me. Hi, everyone. And yeah, well, there is a story. I was born in Moscow, and my father is a violinist. My grandfather was a violinist. My great grandfather was a violinist, and basically, we played violin since the 19th century from my father's side. And yeah, I didn't have really other option as to do the same. However, I mean, in the last years, I'm also very active as a composer an interdisciplinary artist. So I work with different mediums. And just yesterday, I had the premiere of my new creation in Vienna Musikverein. It was a piece I composed for 8 instruments, mezzo soprano, and actor, for whom I also wrote my original texts. And it's been an inspiring journey, and I'm really glad to share it with many people. And I live in, I moved to Vienna around 18 years ago, I think. And currently, I'm based between Vienna and Paris. And yes, my new album piece, which I recorded a couple of months ago with great artists, I was very honored to work with the contemporary composers as well. And some of the tracks, some of the compositions on the album are the world premieres. That's very exciting. And the people are coming from all parts of the world. And I mean, there's so incredible compositions on this album. And this is not just another CD for me, because this is the first time I really went into the like ultimate conceptual curation of this artwork in a way that it's also framed with my original poems. I worked on a sound design as well. I created some sound impressions. I worked with electronics, with natural soundscapes. I created the album in 6 chapters, and they're all also interconnected. And from when you look at this from outside, if you read the program, you think, okay, why is it so? I mean, actually, it's super eclectic, right? What has Schubert to do with a young girl composer from Turkey, or composer from the U.S. and Russia, Eric Satie, and composer from Venezuela, right? But there is all the conceptual kind of
Nimrod
threads.
also is there. This
Connect-
composer.
Sorry.
You play a piece by Nimrod.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, of course. There, I try to name everybody, and
Yeah,
Nimrod
he's
Bornstein
yeah.
is an incredible musician, and I'm
Hmm.
very. It's a big joy for me to work with him again. I already played his music before, and when I talk to him about this album, and we think about which piece to choose, and he rearranged the piece, which is "Souvenirs of Mendelssohn," which is very beautiful, and it's definitely I love this piece. It's one of my favorites.
So how did you? What inspired you to create this? To put together this album? As you said, you have there. Schubert Impromptu mixed with Eric Satie, Gymnopédies. By the way, the album is great. It's on Spotify. I listened to it on Spotify, but I think it's everywhere, right?
Everywhere.
And I urge everybody to go and listen to it. It's really beautiful. I mean, you're such a wonderful violinist, and the people you're collaborating with in that album are such great musicians. But how did you put all this together? And does it have anything to do with the work that you do for UNICEF? I know that you are involved with UNICEF, and you're sort of some sort of ambassador for peace and bringing music everywhere. How does that connection with your role in UNICEF links to this album, and how does it come together somehow?
Right. Yeah. Well, I support UNICEF for already a few years. I mean, great joy for me to be their honorary representative for Austria, and I also worked with UNICEF UK and France. I mean, it's a voluntary position. It's an honorary position, so I cannot say it's not my job. But I'm doing what I can. So with my nonprofit association, we raised funds for, I think, 10 or something schools in Syria and Aleppo for their hygiene and water systems for the students to be able to continue their studies in the schools, and then also for the emergency fund generally, since we have several wars going on, unfortunately. Yeah, and of course, I've been active in the humanitarian field since I was 18. Generally, I was always very passionate about listening other people's stories, and this is something that's very important, I think, for each human, to listen to another one and hear their story and see where we can be helpful. Because also, shouldn't forget that Europe, like being in Western Europe, is a big privilege, and not every. I mean, despite having so many issues here, still compared to some other parts of the world, there is a huge privilege to be a European citizen, for example, to live in Europe and enjoy all the infrastructure. And in other parts of the world, this infrastructure is just completely destroyed by the war, and children are traumatized and they need help. So yeah, anyway, I've been involved for all of that, in all of that for years. Also, the album, it's called Peace, and it doesn't necessarily just mean the political peace or world peace. It's also about finding your own peace. It's about your kind of finding to be in tune with yourself, finding your own melody. The whole album is quite melodic, actually, even though it is contemporary music, and I love experimental contemporary music. I love the atonal. I like tonal, I like everything. This specific album is more about the melodism. It's about more connecting with your own tuning. And I would say also in a way, I mean, I don't want to say that throw the words like mental health, but it's really about finding peace within yourself. Whilst you find it within yourself, you can also share it with others around you and make the world a better place.
And how did you come up with the pieces, which pieces to put together for this album? Is it because of these are some of your favorite composers? I mean, I got some of my favorite composers there too in the album, so I understand perhaps a little bit better the process. But for people that are not classical musicians, how did you come up with this order and with these composers? For example, why Satie Gymnopédies? Is it because of the music being very peaceful and contemplative and meditative, or is it because there is another meaning to it, or the Schubert impromptu, or
Yeah.
your own pieces? Did you have some of your own pieces in there as well, right?
I have two of my compositions on the no, three of my compositions on the album and several of improvisations called Impressions, which by the way are also inspired by existing compositions by others, which I listened in the studio once more before recording and just improvised on it right in the studio. So that was my take on it. And
Nice.
I played it once or twice, and then with specifically two of them, I multi-layered them and played a little bit with sound design to create this an impression. So basically, it's an improvisation slash impression. I call them impressions because that's what the impression at that certain point in the studio. I listened to this music again, and how I was inspired and played it right away into the microphone. And speaking of Eric Satie, it's a very I love Eric Satie generally. I think his life story and I mean the whole thing is just so incredibly interesting. And so he was speaking of peaceful, yes, of course. I mean, that's it. And he speaking of peaceful, he was also revolutionary, and that's what we want to do. You want to bring revolution for the peace, and in a way, in within his very specific field as a classical composer, he's the first composer, as far as I know, who has in some of his pieces, specifically one of the two I recorded on my album, has not used the bar lines, and it was very crazy for that time. But Eric Satie was very particular man and definitely big inspirations. And I love that music. So selection was for the pieces took me some time, and it was I was selecting it based on several criteria. First of all, I need to love this music, of course. As an artist, you understand me very well. It's always great to play music what you really enjoy, actually, to play and can relate to. And then of course it's conceptual meaning and also conversation. I was a composer, what composer really feels about this idea, what the composer feels about the concept of peace and how that comes together. So that definitely was there were a couple of the main criteria for me.
Yeah. And how long did it take you to record this album? What was the process? Did
Yeah,
you do like a few days in the studio,
few
or was it
days.
a
Yes.
one take? Because you
No,
have
no,
great
no, of course we
musicians
took several
collaborating there with you.
takes. No, we did several takes and chose the best ones. I mean, except the impressions, that was really quick. It was 3 days in total, I think, 2.5 or something, 2.5 or three. I think 2.5. Yeah.
Did you record in Vienna or
No,
somewhere
we
else?
recorded in a studio of the arts label, which is in Wuppertal, is a town in Germany, which has incredibly good studio. It was a church before, and now it's rebuilt into the concert venue slash studio, specifically a sound recording studio, which is amazing. And it was great to work also with sound engineer Manfred Schumacher, and also we sit together, work on sound together. For my impressions, for example, I did sound design and mix everything myself fully, and for the other tracks we did it together with Manfred, and he. So basically I really like to be involved from A to Z in the production. Also the concept of my cover picture, which was taken by Ursula Vavrek, who also wrote a note for the album. And so I came up with a full concept with what I want to be on the album, the notes, etc. Yeah, so like my baby, basically.
Right, right. And this is how many albums have you recorded before this one?
Quite many actually, but I didn't record a solo album for some time because I did not know what I wanted. Actually, I didn't feel connected to any of ideas I was offered. And then I thought, okay, I just want to really do something. I felt at that moment a year ago, okay, I want to do this specific concept. It's a very, very specific concept. I know exactly what I want, and that's why I did it.
Yeah, I mean the sound is gorgeous, and the playing is really great. You
Thank
you
you.
collaborated with some top performers there for this album. Also, top composers. So I mean, I love when musicians uh, put things together that have a meaning beyond just music itself. Well, I mean, the concept of peace, as you explained, is goes beyond the peace in the world, but also internal peace. There is, perhaps even a moral message there as well. And if you don't mind me asking, how um, how is the situation for you as a Russian musician? I know that a lot of my Russian musician friends struggle a lot with the situation, the war in Ukraine, and how that has taken a toll on them. I know because I'm Cuban, so wherever I am in the world, the conversation always turns political. They ask me questions about Cuba, or if I'm a Cuban from Cuba, or if I'm a Cuban from outside, or where I stand, and it becomes very complicated and sometimes even confrontational, because people um, want you to be always on their side of the issues. But has this been difficult for you as a Russian musician, even though you live outside of Russia, and has the war with Ukraine and this situation made things difficult for you in that regard?
Yeah, well, of course, I am being asked this question a lot, and well, I mean, technically, I'm an Austrian citizen for many years already.
Right.
My adult life began here, and my career. I mean, well, I performed a lot when I was teenager, of course, but like serious, work started when I moved to Europe. And yeah, I think it's very interesting. I mean, just yesterday I was given an interview, and somebody said, I mean, I was thinking a lot about the question when people say the art and musicians should be apolitical. And this is a very interesting question, because depends which musicians, depends art, what's music. Because as a composer, for example, I create music which is coming from inspiration to create something. So when I create something, I'm surrounded by real life around. So for sure, some things they influence. I mean, not some, many things influence my creation process. What's happening in the world, or what's happening in my private life, or happens in my city, or or in the nature, or historically. So, as a creator, as an artist and composer, I'm inspired by that. And of course, then it's really hard to say that art, visual art, or music is apolitical. Many composers were I mean, so many composers were really influenced by political events through the centuries, right? So art and the culture generally is a soft power of cultural diplomacy. I mean, this cultural diplomacy is a soft power of politics always. So it can be used for good things. It can be used for propaganda motives, not the good ones. And so it is. I don't see, especially if the person is public and has certain visibility, they cannot be apolitical. Even they can say we artists has a total right to say I don't want to share my opinion on things, for sure. I think that's a right everybody must have. And to push out an opinion from any artist about anything, it's from any person, anybody, it's just actually like it's not polite. I mean, maybe not the word polite, but it's not correct. And but however, of course, if you're if you're a public person, you have a certain influence and you can use your voice for good things. And as an artist, my personal belief is to do something good. That's why I'm involved with humanitarian field, and to kind of promote peace, obviously. And that's my case. And but of course, there are musicians who don't compose their own music, which don't create their own thing. They interprets only, which is absolutely fine. And they might not be needing inspiration from outside world, and they might not be following the news or following what's happening because maybe they're busy. So that's okay. I mean, there is no right or wrong about how one should behave publicly. And in my case, my path is promoting peace. And since I'm creating my own thing, I'm definitely looking around what's happening in the world.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree with you. I find that somebody told me once that if you don't um, if you don't find politics in the things that you do in your everyday life things, even as a musician, politics will find you. And you know, I find that to be very, very true, because I haven't been able to, as a Cuban, I haven't been able to avoid that. And I've had people confront me, after a concert. I remember once I was playing in Rio de Janeiro, and after a concert, somebody came straight to me and said, like, "You're not a Cuban from Miami, are you?" And I was, and it was funny because at the time I wasn't living in Miami. I actually was living in New York, where I lived for 20 some years after I moved from Cuba. But the question to me was so forceful and a little bit offensive
It's
that
very invasive.
yeah, so I actually, my answer was like, yes, I am a Cuban from Miami, actually. Yes, I am. So I'm sorry to disappoint you. I just couldn't find myself to, to say something else. And it's true, politics sometimes finds you, and you have no idea, how to sometimes navigate this path so that you don't offend anybody, and you can, focus people on the good things that we all have in common, like music. So it's really a hard
Yeah.
thing to navigate, because people want peace and people want all of these wonderful things, and we as musicians have I think we have a duty to, or a vocation that exists to bring people the joy of music, the joy of getting out of whatever is in your mind, and the madness of everyday life, and then bring them beauty. But then we are human beings too. I mean, I was talking to Jan Swafford for another podcast, and he's the a composer and the biographer of Beethoven, and we were talking about his biography of Beethoven, and the fact that Beethoven loved to talk about politics all the time, and he
Yeah.
was very upset at Chupanzik, the famous violinist who recorded, I mean, who performed, not recorded, there were no recordings at the time, but who performed all of his music, and he was one of his biggest champions. And he was like, I can't deal with this guy. He only wants to talk about music, and I'm only interested in other things, in politics, in current
Yeah.
events, in gossip. So I really get what you're saying, and how that kind of affects the way you conduct
Yeah.
yourself in the world as an artist.
Because there are two different types of artists, of those who are really, I mean, no, maybe three. Like the person, from my experience, person who is just maybe, I mean, like Glenn Gould, or someone who is just really just so focused on their thing only. Like maybe they very often they are finding themselves on being on a spectrum, and how we know many talented people are. And then people who are just really like taking and finding inspiration from everywhere around them, and being aware of what's going on in the world, what people are doing, their stories, again, listening to others, listening their story. I think story of every person can be just so fascinating. Every single person you meet on the street, they have something to tell. And that's absolutely great. And I think the third person, people who don't care, I don't really call them artists, is just, I mean, yeah, that
Yeah.
they are just, it's a routine for maybe then, yeah, but they just play something and don't really find any inspiration. That's sad. But I think, yeah, it's an interesting subject. And also, well, your story you told about asking you about your specific, if you're Cuban, from where exactly, etc. I mean, these questions and this tone are, I find, very invasive. And also, what I think I experienced, and I experience also with many people actually nowadays, not, I mean, from different countries, is that people, it is a very, people are being really rightfully protective against discrimination based on your against discrimination based on your gender, on your preferences, on your race, on your everything, this and that and that. But somehow there is still discrimination based on the place of your birth, very often, which you can't choose. And that happens, and for some reason that the invasive questions with a weird kind of subtext and things like that, they are actually, there's a discrimination in a way. So I think that's something like says it's called xenophobia, and I think that's something what of course need to be really looked into when we look into the for formulation of discrimination in social medias, for example, and stuff like that.
Right, right. Yuri, I wanted to talk to you also because you're a composer and a violinist, and I was having um, a discussion the other day with a friend about, I'm very pessimistic about new music, and I have, I have a handful of composers that I support, and I play their music, but I'm very pessimistic about the direction music is going, and popular music, classical music, music in general. What's your take on this? Because as a composer and a violinist, and I know you play a lot of your music, but also other composers' music. Where are we going? Do you find yourself pessimistic like myself, or are you more optimistic about where we
Yeah.
are in the music world specifically?
No, I'm not pessimistic. I mean, the thing is that I mean, it's let's say it's challenging, a lot of
Mhm.
challenge, and with AI now, things like that. But in a way, I mean, in terms of composing and producing, AI is impressive. I mean, I really have to say, checked out one of the websites, and I checked it out maybe 2 3 months ago. So and it's developing really fast.
Oh, are you talking
And
about Suno? Are you
no,
talking about
another
that?
one, another one. I mean, I'm not. I will not
How
like.
crazy? How
Well,
crazy
I
is
will not
that?
throw the brands here or any kind of names, but it is an
Mhm.
excellent website. I checked,
Right.
and to be honest, I just really wrote like create me this and that, like ambient something with drones, this mood and stuff. So it created me 3 tracks very quickly. One of them was really bad, second was decent, and third was really good. And then I thought, I mean, it literally something what hundreds, thousands of people are doing, and put this type of ambient music online, and then you listen to it, and then people who produce it, they spend hours on it, but then with 2 minutes you can actually create the same. Unfortunately, it's really the same. I mean, it's electronic synthesizers, and I imagine in a couple of years it'll be incredible.
But are
Spotify
you
already is pushing the AI accounts actually with AI music.
But are you talking about your compositions that are more on the popular side, or even classical
No, no, I'm talking right
compositions?
now. I was mentioning something. What's the most like pessimistic kind of thing is that it's the AI will potentially steal jobs. I think already doing or helping, maybe to create purely electronic music, which is ambient or pop. Let's say even with voices, it's quite really good. I mean, as I said on Spotify, the AI singers they could get millions of
No, no,
streams, and
I've been
yeah,
checking, and all of the record companies. I mean, everyone is behind these new
yeah.
AI products because they are creating new albums
Yeah,
and
of course.
new
It's
music.
that we the big companies are monetizing. They think about profit. They don't think about us very often, unfortunately. So what I think the good thing is that the live art, the performers, the human touch will be more appreciated in a couple of years. I think. I mean, if we see where it's going, so that might be actually a good thing for coming back to experiencing of real people making like playing music for you, making music for you, and that will maybe become a little bit more in a way luxury, but some luxury which many people will start craving. And I think that might be quite interesting. In terms of the contemporary music, if your question is about that it's not very good, some of it, I mean, it's question of taste really. Like personally, I played a lot of crazy experimental works by my colleagues, and let's say my music, the one I compose, is 90% tonal. Sometimes there are some more atonal things, but it's mostly tonal. I think that's really a question of taste, and I think there should be space for absolutely everyone. And if you enjoy creating, I mean, as an artist, the most important is to be authentic, I think. And if as an
Right,
artist, I want to create something what is very, let's say, conventionally unpleasant for the ears, but unconventionally, it's very interesting and conceptual in a way. And that's what you want as an artist. That's how you express yourself. I mean, you will for sure find your audience, and you have audience for that, and it's great, because people then can connect somehow on that purpose, vibrations or whatever.
right. Well, the funny thing is that I find that there are a lot of things that are being made composed right now by great composers. But it's a combination that it's not that there is a lot of music that I don't like. I mean that's the case for a lot of music through the centuries. But I find also that the output of this music that we like finds no resonance
Mm.
outside of certain groups. There's no also a place where you can actually promote or champion these composers that you love. I mean,
Mm.
we do it our own way, but then it's very difficult to to promote this music in this era where we find that the record companies or the streaming companies they
Yeah,
want to give people what is easy, what is
you just
what
named
they're
it.
going to
Yeah,
like, right?
that's a problem
So
because
that's it's a
easy option. Yeah,
combination.
it is a combination,
The
and the thing is that it needs to be presented well. And it's okay. I'm just trying to give an example. So, for example, there was an organization, a label, which did. I mean, well, they mean not just that one. Who started doing? Okay, let's make concert. Let's get new audience and make concert in not in the Philharmonic Hall, but in a club. And they promoted it still to their own audience. And the thing is that, okay, no, it was a great idea, but the thing is that it's the same people who came to the Philharmonic Hall came to the club. They didn't reach new audience because they promoted still. It just said, oh, wow, we have a new thing, but literally the same people because the channels are wrong. And I think, indeed, I mean, now this thing with Timothy Chalamet, who said about opera and ballet dying and the things. I mean, this is very rude, but the interesting thing that it gave such a big impulse, and which showed that this type of impulse, that there's controversy, which basically woken up the whole industry, made many videos going viral. It became a trend, all this and that. I mean, it's crazy, but it's the way the world works now. I mean, I'm very bad in marketing, for example. Like, I really am not. I'm not intuitive. Some people have really good intuition for what's cool, what's viral, what's not. I mean, I don't. I gave up on that. Actually, I just really put on just my music, my art, and that's it. But what I realized, still looking at others, that sometimes you just need to change your
For the outsider like
kind of,
myself,
yeah.
you're super cool. That's just for the record. For an
Oh,
outsider
thank
like
you.
myself, you know, all the albums that you have, all the people that you put together in your programs, you also have a kind of a festival thing that you do where you bring people in
Yes.
from from dancers to painters to. So I mean, you're a pretty cool musician. I mean, compared to a lot
Thanks a lot.
of the conservatory more um, more private kind of musicians, especially in the classical music world, you're out
Mhm.
there always creating and doing things that are engaging and bringing people in that love other sort of art forms. I mean, the are you still doing the festival night
Yes,
in
exactly.
Vienna?
So basically, this is a decentralized project. Decentralized means is that it can be done anywhere. It's a
Hmm.
concept which I direct, where I bring it's multi and interdisciplinary. So the difference between multi and interdisciplinary is multi. For example, you have a concert, you have a reading of a poetry by a known actor, then a performance by, let's say, young upcoming dancer, then you have music, this and that. So when many different art forms are in the same, let's say, concert, but not in the same time. Interdisciplinary is when the art forms merge. For example, like I did the creation where musicians were, I was directing the movement of them, and it was electronic and acoustic, classical, and movement together. And then in the end, it was a human sculpture. So this like three art forms mixed together. So, but I love both, to working in both mediums. And with my festival, basically, we work the way that whenever we have a great idea and whenever we have somebody who supports it, we do it. And do it in London or in Vienna, in Paris. We did also more art focused, contemporary art focused, and sound installation and performance in Rome. So yeah, it's a basically it is. I'm looking always for the word how to explain it. It decentralized festival. It is also a
So
platform in a way. It's a
you
laboratory.
so is it goes beyond Vienna. I mean,
Oh yeah,
when
of
I
course. No,
was
it is so
there
totally
last, you were doing
decentralized.
it at the Music Verein, and which is an amazing venue.
Yes.
It's one of the most beautiful venues.
Thank you. Yeah, it's well,
Yeah.
we do it wherever. I mean, we did it in the the biggest project, which is Dreamland of Festival Nights. It's a multidisciplinary project for children, and we did it in Theater an der Wien, what was our biggest, 2,000 people, I think. But we also did in a gallery 5 times in one day in Rome, which was, I think, only 40 people each time because the gallery was so small, you know. So it really depends, and super open. I mean, literally to any ideas always in that, and just see where we can do something. It's, you know, it's all about creating something cool and new and inspiring. So
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's always a way to bring classical music, but also all sorts of music to new audiences. I mean, I think that's an unbelievable concept. I hope that I can be helpful in any way to maybe bring it to the U.S. and New York or Miami or wherever. What's
yeah,
so?
definitely,
But
yeah, we should.
yeah, what's next for you? What's next for you? Are you promoting this album somewhere?
Yes, well, a little bit, yeah. I mean, well, now actually I have 2 weeks in Vienna, and I'm very happy about it because I was really busy. So I had my premiere yesterday of my new creation. A week before I was in South Asia, and right before that, 2 weeks ago, I think. Yes, 2 weeks ago, I had the premiere of my creation in a museum, in the excellent museum here, Künstlerhaus in Robertsina Modern, with my creation for 4 musicians and a dancer, where I also directed the whole performance, the costumes, the soundscapes, the sound installation on the staircase, all everything. So now
Is that
I'm
online?
starting
Is that
to.
online, Yuri? Is
It's
that
gonna
in?
be. It's gonna be. Everything is gonna be online. Everything has been recorded. Currently, I'm editing the audio. I like to do also edit audio myself. You know, during pandemic, I learned everything: the production, the mixing, everything, and then everything will be online. So everyone, please feel free to check out my socials and specifically Instagram, and there'll be videos. And next week, actually, I have a really cool guy coming. His name is Emeric, and he is from France. Actually, right here in this place, which looks a bit, it's right now being rebuilt. Actually, that's where my studio will be, new place. So it's a little bit in construction here. And here we are gonna be working on some creative ideas. He's an incredible beatboxer from France. He is absolutely insanely talented. He is performing, dancing. I mean, his voice, basically, his body is an artwork, and it's his instrument, and he is just so inspiring. And we're gonna, for the 3 days next week, we're gonna just vibe. It's kind of, and then potentially, if we find the right ideas. I mean, I already have some ideas to turn his voice into synthesizers and work live with it, was processing it basically, which he can do the whole band, like anything with his voice, you know, like you don't need any electronics actually. And I want to extra process it a little bit and add acoustics instruments. So let's see. I mean, that's my plan. We'll see how that works. In any case, stay tuned on that as well. And
And
absolutely, yeah,
is he going to
that's
do
my literally
some?
the.
So it's going to be mostly your compositions, improvisations, and
We
things like
absolutely,
that.
that's the best part about it. We absolutely have no idea what we're gonna do next week. So
What's
he's
his
coming
what's his
here.
name?
His name is Emeric, and I don't want to make mistake to pronounce his surname in French, which is a little bit complicated for me. So it's
Okay.
better we write it down exactly
Yeah,
in the description,
I'll
and please check him
when
out.
we finish talking,
Exactly.
you can send me his
H A
information. I
I
can
N
put
O
on the
U
description
X.
so people can check him
Yeah.
out. And are you coming to the States anytime soon? Or
Yes, yeah, and actually before that, I want to shout out also to the incredible artist I worked with on the album, which is Basha Slavenska, incredible accordionist from Poland and France. It was this incredibly talented musician, just so wonderful to work with her. Ukrainian pianist Vladimir Borodin, who lives in Vienna, whom I know for almost 20 years. Excellent musician, wonderful talent, and
Any relation
it's
to
pleasure.
relationship to the composer? I was wondering.
Actually, he might funny wise he might. I don't know how much though, but it doesn't matter because he's a big talent by himself. And that's actually a good question. Next, and another performer, David Chen, who is only 17 years old. He's a pianist and he also recorded a solo piece, Schubert Impromptu, on the
Yeah, that
album.
was beautiful.
He's
That was
a
beautiful.
grandson of Marta Argerich, with whom I had an honor to perform as
Oh,
well.
okay, wonderful.
And he is such a talent. And to be honest, and I don't actually, I don't really write it anywhere about him because, of course, that's something what people talk immediately. Okay, he's a grandson of Marta, but I heard him when I played, was Marta actually a couple of years ago, and I heard him, he played a surprise encore and there's something else at the concert. And he was the sound he had already with the age of 15 was so cool. And especially you can understand as you are such an incredible musician yourself, right? So I think this is you will say, your sound is wonderful, incredible too. And I think that's something what always fascinates me. What is to have this personal sound and find this touch. And with a very young age, he has it. So it was really great joy to work with him as well. It was his first ever studio recording. And yeah, and New
Did
York, yeah.
What did he record in your album? Because I
We
think
recorded
the
two side
Schubert,
C
the
pieces.
impromptu was
Yes.
Borodin, right? Who recorded it?
No, it was David. Impromptu
Is
is
that
David's
Davis who
recording.
recorded the
Exactly. Yeah,
impromptu?
yeah.
Oh,
It's
okay.
David's
Oh, that was
recording,
beautiful.
and it's very nice. And it's absolutely wonderful. And we did two Saties together and the Schubert Duo, the song, and
Okay.
which is absolutely incredible. And
And
touch
where are you going to play with him in the States? Are you going to do something in the
Let's
States with
see.
him?
No, we haven't. We performed at Vienna Concerthaus at my album presentation, and we're gonna do also Salle Cortot in Paris in May. In New York, I'm coming in November. On November, 12, I think. I have a premiere in Carnegie Hall. I have a premiere of my symphonic composition called The Ocean, which I still need to
Nice.
compose. And deadline is in June, but it's fine.
Who is performing that symphonic
So
work?
that's going to be an orchestra. Not yet New York Philharmonic. I hope. New York Philharmonic, if you're listening, please, I'm all yours to compose something. It's in another orchestra, and it's also going to be. I'm going to join this performance as well, and play a violin part in it. And I'm quite excited, and it's going to be very, very. I imagine it is a very big piece in a way with the orchestration, with all the colors, like the ocean can be. It's absolutely
Wow. And how big
yeah.
is the orchestra going to be? I mean, this sounds like a big
The normal
undertaking.
symphonic and
Oh, so no, wow,
an
it's a
extra
full
marimba.
orchestra.
Yeah, full orchestra, symphony orchestra plus extra marimba because I love marimba.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
great instrument.
Yeah, so much
Great
fun.
instrument. Well, that's fun. I mean, I'm between Miami and New York these days, so I hope that I can be there for that. And
Yeah, how's
maybe.
cooking on your side? What's the thing you're excited about the next?
Well, I'm doing a bunch of of projects with my trio. I just did a tour with them recently, Bohemian Trio. I have to send you some of the recordings that we have done, because all of
Please.
the compositions that we do are from young living composers. Is a trio of cello, piano, and saxophone. So as you can imagine, there is nothing written for that, and it's such a wonderful project, because it's a project that I started with a friend from childhood from Cuba,
Mhm.
who is who became one of the greatest jazz players now, and he has a background in classical music, loves composing, and he composes opera and
Nice.
chamber music and all sorts of things. And he's very active in the jazz world. I mean, before our tour last week, he was performing at the Village Vanguard for a week with some of the great
Yeah, that's
some
cool.
yeah, great jazz musicians. So we perform a lot of new composers. I mean, we would love to do a piece written by you. Maybe we'll commission something if you feel uh, you know
That's
inclined
pleasure, of
to write
course.
for that kind of odd combination. But
I
it's
actually
really
love that.
it's really. I'll send you our album, and I think it's a
Please.
lot of fun to collaborate with this kind of musicians, because we do a lot of improvisation as well in the pieces. And
Mhm.
so we have that, and I have a duo with my brother. We are performing also
Yes.
Carnegie Hall in July as part of their United in Sound series that they have this year. And we do a lot of Cuban music, also written by Cuban
Mhm.
composers living
That's
in New
good.
York and Cuba. And so, yeah, in a way, I shouldn't be so pessimistic about about music, because I do
You're
get to
not.
perform a lot of new music of people that I love, and musicians that I really admire. And yeah, so I mean, we'll see how that goes. And I've started doing these podcast series to talk to friends and people that I love and admire, such as yourself, and to help sort of like you know uh, bring out the word of new projects and things that people are doing. And I hope that people can benefit from it and listen to your album and get to know you better and check you out and see what you're doing on your side of the world. And hopefully you can come here at some point and continue the collaboration here. But
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. But I'm
So that's fun.
incredibly happy to talk to you, and I hope that we can do it again soon and talk about anything you want. You know, your favorite
Absolutely.
composers or your whatever projects you're promoting. Always happy to talk to you and to listen to you. So I will put the information of your album on the description of the video, and so people can go and check it out. I really loved it. So thank you
Thank you
so
very
much
much. Well,
for
thank
talking
you. I
to
mean,
me,
thanks a
Yuri.
lot for having me, and congratulations with everything you do. I mean, it's very inspiring. And I wanted to say that it's really cool that, I mean, your trio, that you create this sonic soundscape of these three different instruments in a way, going outside of a very traditional setup, because I think that's also so unique. And we have so many opportunities as composers to create something outside of just string quartet or just violin and piano. And by the way, Maurice Ravel was saying that in his opinion, violin and piano are the most non-compatible instruments. Actually, it's
Really, he
very
said that.
interesting. Yes, yeah, yeah.
I
It's
didn't know
very
that.
very funny in a way. But I
Wow.
mean, yesterday in my piece, there was a harp, there was flute, there was piano, actor, mezzo soprano, strings. So my creation 2 weeks ago, it was viola, violin, electric guitar, and flute. So I really think that we have so much talent and so many different instruments, that just to work with really creating this sonic soundscapes, this really incredibly interesting um,
Yeah.
sound for people, that can be incredible. So great job. I mean, congrats.
I'm not a composer myself, but I love that people like yourself that are involved in that process. I mean, how do you find even time to compose when you're so busy? performing. I mean, because I every time I talk to a friend composer, that's usually a source of tension. Like, oh, I don't have time to practice because I need to put together this piece that is
Yes.
have a
Yeah.
deadline. And even Rachmaninoff himself was always complaining about that. That
It's true.
he didn't know how to sort of balance well the life of a composer with the life of a performer. And as we well know, he was one of the greatest pianists ever. But how do you do it? Do you find time to do both, or?
It's hard, but you know what? I mean, well, I mean, I'm not touring with the amount of shows like Lady Gaga does, right? So it's kind of I have a bit less pressure. but the time management is the key. So I always travel with my Mac Mini, with my extra screen, with my mini keyboard, with my setup, with my mini microphone. And so basically, wherever I have, whenever I get inspiration or I know what I want, I write it. And also, even without my tools, if I'm somewhere on the way in my mind, I hear music quite well. I hope so, at least. So, and then I get ideas quite specific in my mind. And then if I don't have ideas, then I always try to schedule some days where I just improvise and go with the flow. But it's very important, I think, to know your strengths and to know what to say yes to and know that you can deliver it on time or not. And I think that's very important. And put the repertoire for the concerts knowing that you have this at this time to practice what you can, what you can't. So I think just really strategically trying to be as much as objective as you can with your own like talent and I don't know strengths and abilities and your schedule. I think that's the key actually.
Especially for you, because you're performing the big concertos. I mean, you have to practice those.
Yeah, I have to
Like,
practice. Yeah, well, look, I practice, but you know what? I practiced enough when I was child.
well,
Yeah,
you're
I was in
a
art
you're a
school. You know, I
child.
practiced so much. I mean, I played Paganini concertos was age of like 11,
No,
and
you're a child prodigy, and I imagine a lot of that
but I
is
was
already there.
yeah, but I was always lazy, and I'm lazy. And the thing is that when you're lazy, what you want to do, you want to finish practice faster. So to finish practice faster, you practice smarter. And really try to solve the things what needs to be done and not to repeat. Even when I was a little younger, I was not repeating just something because it's working well. Sometimes what children do, because that works well, let's repeat it 10 times because you enjoy it, which is great. But I think that time efficiency, I mean, I mean, it's easy to say it, like I still struggle with it sometimes, of course. But I think that trying to be efficient in terms of your time schedule and preparation, and also finding the time to find inspiration to sit at home. For example, now I'm 2 weeks at home, right? So with this guy, with Emerick, when he's here, I have my phone off. You know, it's gonna be 3 days. I think 6-7 hours each day. We're just gonna be really looking for inspiration, and that's very important. You know, to scale. We scheduled it since 3 months. These 3 days to make it that we really he comes to Vienna, and then we really try to find inspiration. We might not find it after 3 days, but we hope that we will. So, but yeah, like always, we
That
hope that
sounds
we'll
great,
find
and
inspiration.
sounds great. And so I think this is a good place to end our conversation. I know we're supposed to talk for 15-20 minutes, and
Yeah, I
now
was also looking at
we're
the
talking
time.
for
Yeah,
an
but
hour, and I really
it's
don't want to
great to
take
talk to you. Yeah,
so much
you
of your time.
got so much insights.
Um, so I don't want to go over the too much over the time that we said we were going to talk. But Yuri, thank you so much,
Thank you. It
and let's do it again. Let's do it again soon.
was a big
Okay?
pleasure. Take care. See you
Take care.
soon.
See you.
Bye bye.